Welcome to another episode of the CarryTrainer Higher Line podcast. Hey there, guys. Welcome to another episode of the CarryTrainer Higher Line podcast, which we're now calling the Extravaganza, since a couple weeks ago we learned that podcast is a no-no word. Did you know that, Pat?
I did not know that.
Yeah, I've been doing some research, and because the broadcast industry's dying, You know what else I learned? Super interesting. So we've got our friend on, Pat McNamara, here today, and Pat's got a podcast. He's got what's your shirt there?
Oh, well, this is an affiliation. The podcast is University of Badassery.
Yeah, with CJ.
With CJ, the metal motivator.
So I learned that, and I never would have believed this, 26% of Americans listen to podcasts.
Wow.
I never knew that. Yeah, I thought it was like a little fringe thing. So this article was written by some smart people, and they're basically looking at the death of broadcast. And so a couple of them were saying the biggest challenge is the word podcast, because to the 74%, they think that podcast is a connotation for some cute shit recorded in somebody's basement, kind of like I'm doing right now. And it's not, some type of professional production. So they were trying to come up with names to help mean something in the listener's head. Is that kind of interesting? Those numbers are staggering.
Interesting.
How long have you guys been doing the badassery podcast? University.
We've only done so far 3 episodes, but we started as Excellence in Metal.
Yes.
And we did, I think, 9 episodes under that banner, Excellence in Metal. But we thought we might be hitting a narrow demographic with that title. But it wasn't just for metalheads, Yes, we talked metal, and we had we chit chat about it. But it's just a motivational podcast. So we changed the name up, and we've done, I think, 3 under the new banner.
Okay. And just so you guys, if you're listening, most of you have probably heard, I think we've had CJ on here 2 or 3 times.
All right, cool. Yeah. He's a good guy, man. He's
awesome. Super intelligent.
Yep. He definitely carries me in that podcast. He's got a great gift of oratory, and I'm more of a master of brevity.
Yeah, you can talk. You can talk, though.
Yeah.
But you're right. He's a dude that can just sit there and talk to the microphone and.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's kind
of soothing too, man. Soothing.
When we've recorded in the past, I've looked over at the clock and been like, "Hey, man, we're gonna shut this down. It's been 3 hours, and I gotta pee." We just keep going and going. So I'll just tell the listeners a little bit about yourself. I know most dudes that run in training circles or military law enforcement circles, and now with modern Instagram and YouTube and all that jazz, most dudes know who you are, but some may not, because there's some.
I'm a retired military guy. I grew up in Connecticut, joined the military at 17. Did 22 years. It was all special ops time. I was very fortunate in that it was all special ops time. I mean, I enlisted to be special forces, and made it by the skin of my teeth, and then had a myriad of different jobs within the special ops community. My last 13 years, I was in USASOC in a Tier 1 unit, and I retired in 2005. Starting in 2005, I worked for a corporation training people, and did that for about 4.5 years-ish, and then generated TMACS in 2010, and have been running under my own banner since 2010, training folks in firearms and shooting courses, both pistol, carbine, fighting Sentinel classes, close quarter battle, and then training not just LE and MIL, but I want my citizens trained up as well. So that's been my main focus for some time.
Yeah, you've wrote a few books. I know the one Sentinel.
Yep.
You talk about in that book what you just said. You want a trained citizenry to protect.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not necessarily, the Sentinel book isn't necessarily geared toward gun owners. It kind of encompasses any responsible citizen who wants to be better equipped to protect himself, his family, his loved ones, and to serve his community. So I take what an executive protection detail does, like Secret Service, State Department protection detail, and brought it down to a micro level. So how can the average guy do what an executive protection detail does to protect himself, to be more switched on, to protect his family? So, I use as an example his EDC, his everyday car. That's his limo. And when he's driving, that's his job. And then what should be in that limo, whether your limo is a Suburban or a Honda Civic, that's your mobile command center. So here's the things that should be in it. Here's the condition it should be in at all times. I encourage guys to go to like a driving school. Just because they've been driving for a long time doesn't mean they could drive.
Right.
And then, so I do that with home, with your advance on the fly, how to do that kind of stuff. But there's a lot of information in a very small package in that book.
That's a good book.
And it's just chock full of little nuggets. The other one I wrote was TAPS. That's kind of dated. I need to update that, and I've been working on it. But man, it probably won't be ready for another year.
I just reread that book about 6 months or a year ago. What would you update in there?
Well, my training methodology has definitely advanced. There's no doubt about it. So, because that book was meant for, guys like you, guys who are in the industry, number one, to, say, oh, yeah. Let me try to incorporate that thing into my training. Or it is meant for the guy who's an avid shooter. He maybe goes to the range once a month and he's lacking ideas. What should I work on today? So it's made for a cargo pocket. I made them soft and the same size as a cargo pocket. So you go to range, it's right there with you. But I've got so many new courses of fire. I didn't hit on the importance of footwork in that first TAPS book. I need to hit a lot more on visual acuity. I need to hit on performance-based training methodology. There's a lot, and I want to put a snippet, like I did in the Sentinel book, a snippet of my combat strength training program in that revised TAPS book, because fitness is a huge, fighting is fighting. Whether you're fighting with your hands, feet, body, or fighting with a gun, there's going to be kinetics. So there's going to be kinetics, movement. You may be protecting somebody. So I need to put the importance of, or stress the importance of fitness in there. Just give guys, a snippet of the fitness portion as well. But yeah, so much has to be done with that because the old one's just dated right now.
Okay, got it. Tell the listener, viewer, what you're talking about when you say kinetics.
Well, I always tell people mobility is survivability. It's hard to shoot a moving target, and too many of us, when we train with a handgun, with a rifle, we get stuck in flat range world where we become myopic. The target's right in front of us. There's no moving. We're stationary, and we're saying, yes, we are training because we're putting bullets out of a gun and onto paper. It's good and it's necessary, but kinetics, mobility need to be involved. Even if it's simple steps, it could be a step to the left, step to the right, step forward, step backwards. You don't need to have a gigantic range. It could be just simple little footwork. But there has to be mobility. There has to be kinetics. You have to be in tune to your distal properties. Awareness of your feet under your awareness of your feet under your body. And too many of us are just flat-footed and we're just standing stationary and we're calling it training, but it's really not, because there's going to be movement. There's going to be.
Yeah.
we don't have a choice. We don't have a choice in the gunfight. We don't have a choice to, like right now, I'm asking guys, you know, when I start the class and I talk fundamentals of marksmanship, I say fundamentals typically start with stance. Is stance a fundamental of fighting marksmanship? And most of them now have caught on, and they've seen my videos and stuff, and they'll say, probably not. I say, no, you're correct. Probably not, because most of the time we don't have a choice. We don't have you know, we could be 1 foot out of the car. It could be coming from around a barricade. It could be on the move. So yeah, you don't have a choice. We'll call it stance, but it's really footing. You know, footing is more appropriate, I think, to explain the base work. You know, your base under your body than stances.
It's kind of a topic that I think guys, when they first start shooting, they get so fixated on, I just want to see a sweet group.
Yep.
Or I want to see like some fast split times and see my slide reciprocate flat because it looks cool.
Yeah.
Excuse me. They fixate on that versus the outcome. Like how is this supporting me, saving my life or my family's life? But they fixate on the task. Seems like when you look at these problems long enough, you start to people if they're thinking about it open-mindedly begin to arrive at the same conclusions. And then it's kind of telling to me, my 2 cents, when people don't arrive at those conclusions, I assume that they're not looking at it with an open mind. They're really just looking at, I want to shoot fast, I want to shoot tight groups, or you know, whatever the flavor of the day is.
Right, and that's, you pegged it, flavor of the day. A lot of guys fall into a rut of what I call institutional inbreeding.
Yeah.
You know, they've heard this from this guy, who heard it from this guy, who heard it from this guy, therefore it's got to be true. There's a lot of that out there, the institutional inbreeding. You said something else. Oh yeah, like split times. And I was watching, I don't know, every once in a while I watch, you know, shooting videos, or somebody will send me one, or I'll get tagged in it. And there was one recently where a guy he was probably, when he drew, the muzzle of his pistol was probably like 3 feet away from the target. And there were 3 targets.
Oh, I know what this is.
He was on the timer, beep, and he was going boom, 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 boom. Or it could have been maybe even more shots. It could have been boom, 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 boom.
It was 3 to the body, 3 to the body, 3 to the head.
Right. Yep. And his comment, and he was checking his time, and his comment was, if you don't work on split times, you have the wrong pistol instructor, or something like that. And I was thinking, man, if you're 3 feet from the target, you have the wrong pistol instructor. Or if you're not checking your work through your sights, you have the wrong pistol instructor. You know, that kind of thing.
So what was the last part again about sights?
If you're not checking, I have a saying in training. Most people call it follow through, the importance of follow through. So, you know, you squeeze around off, you know, one of the fundamentals, boom, realign, reset, click, get ready for the next shot. I call it checking your work through your sights. Always, always, always. You know, too many guys will shoot, boom, 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 and then snatch the gun right back.
Yeah.
We'd never, ever do that in a gunfight. We would never do that, ever. You know, that gun would still be out there getting ready for that next shot, ever. But guys will do it every time in training. Then they fall into that rut of institutional inbreeding and start developing training scars. And that shit will happen to them, and it'll bite them in the ass.
It's like you're training to get good at training.
Yeah, well, exactly, yeah. And a lot of people do that. And I don't mind, because it gives me something to do when I'm training guys. You know, it gives me something to I don't mind seeing all that stuff because, damn, then I get to get, you know, if I run a class with 12 guys and they're all super squared away and they're knocking the freaking X-ring out and, you know, they're just absolute blazers, then
you go get your sandbags.
Yeah, right. Exactly. That's exactly what I do. I say, well, looks like we got to up the ante. There's some stairs around here to run, and some shit to push, and some stuff to throw.
Right. Why don't you get your trucks out here?
Yeah, yeah. But so yeah, I don't mind that it's out there because it keeps me busy.
The video that you were just talking about, that actually was Ernest Langdon's drill. If the one that you're talking about is what I'm thinking, And Ernest is no slouch, but I've seen a bunch of people take that drill and it's become like, he meant it as like a way to try to track your sights really quickly through targets.
Mm-hmm.
And guys have taken it, and there's a couple dudes that it is like their class, like the crescendo drill that they use as a baseline for student.
Right.
And I've watched it, and it's like, well, what the are you doing? Like, you know, these guys have like taken 2 or 3 hours or days of instruction, and now you're having them just smoke through shit 2 feet from their muzzle. Like, there's no real objective there. That there's not 3 dudes that are going to stand there shoulder to shoulder and be like,
yeah,
run across my heart and face 6 times.
Yeah. It's like using a bench press as a measure of strength.
Wait, it's not a measure of strength to you.
But there's a lot of those, and I don't have any drills like that, none, where I say, hey, here's the standard for this cool drill I invented, and you need to put this many rounds on paper in this amount of time. Because the first reason I don't do that is because that's outcome-based training. So outcome-based training, how many, how much, how fast. Execution with consideration of the consequence. Will I succeed or will I fail? When you're adhering to somebody, some standard that some dude wrote down and put in a book, you're not training for you, you're training for his standard.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I work performance-based training. Performance-based training asks how well. Where is my home, and how can I make an incremental improvement to the structure of my home? It understands that we all perform differently, and performance can be measured by doing what we can with what we have. So I set up drills, and I tell the student, you are going to set the standard for yourself. Because in a class, let's say 12 or 14 guys, when I have a full class, the skill set disparity is pretty wide. I'll have 2 or 3 guys who are pretty much beginners, and then 4 or 5 who can burn it down. I mean, just blazers. You know, they're kicking my ass at my drills.
Yeah.
And so now it works for that skill set disparity. You know, when you set a standard like that, when it's performance based, now they can say, all right, well, this is where I live, and let me see if I can either match it or do better based on the critique that I'm getting and my own introspection, you know, my own objective self-critique and introspection. So that's where I've been living in the training world for some time. And I think I'm pretty sure it's unique to me and my training methodology. I mean, I've spent a lot of time.
I subscribe to that.
Yeah, I've been spending a lot of time and energy, you know, massaging this training methodology for 10, 15, 15 years. And it's all sports psychology driven.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very palatable for the masses, because the guy who could burn it down, he's into it. He's listened to every piece of that performance-based training methodology, you know, because he's into that sports psychology.
Yeah.
You know, he's probably got a stack of books at home. The novice is into it because I've given him permission, or her permission, to work within their capability limits.
Mm-hmm.
And going, oh man, I feel so much more comfortable now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, now I can learn. It opens the doorway up to learning, where it takes the pressure off of me. I don't have to, you know, perform like that guy or to max standard. And the other thing, I could go on and on about this, which I probably will, but I tell students, I said, you will never, ever hear me say, go faster in a course. You know, you will hear me say, hey, push it more, push it more. One of the things I tell, because especially with guys, you've heard this, Mickey, tons of times. You may have even early on whenever you took your first class, or whatever, you may have even asked it. But I know it's asked of you, hey, when do I start pushing it? When do I start like really pushing the envelope? super aggressive out of the holster, just ripping rounds.
Yeah.
And when? My answer is when it's impossible for you to miss at your current speed.
Yeah.
So speed is speed is fine, but accuracy is final, said Wyatt Earp. Speed is fine, but it's a byproduct. It just comes, it comes.
Efficient movement and
yeah, it just comes with being efficient and good quality, meaningful repetitions. It's just like any other training, anything.
I was in a class recently with a guy that's becoming a pretty well-known instructor across the country. I popped into his class for a day, and he said, he yelled out loud to the line, and I'm not calling this guy out because people may have heard him say this. I'm not going to say his name, but he said, who the is going to slow down and get their hits? Because the whole point was like really fast shooting. And I'm like thinking like, okay, they're missing. You don't want them to slow down. They don't have the skills to get the hits at the speed that you're pushing them, because there's par times. He's got he wants you to draw and shoot and fire X amount of shots, and they're spraying the freaking whole USPSA target.
Right.
And like A zone is the target zone. And I don't want you to slow down and get the hits. I want you to get the hits in this time constraint, but they don't know how.
Right.
Like their systems don't support what you're trying to get them to do. And I didn't say anything, of course. And it's like, all right, this guy's a master class shooter too, shooting from concealment. So, I just kind of chuckled like, okay, that sounds really cute. Don't slow down. But when their grip sucks or whatever is causing the breakdown, continuing to go fast is stupid.
Right. Yes, exactly. It's funny. I do the first time I put my students on a timer, I run a drill called 5-second standard.
Okay.
And you work, you start at 7. I never do anything closer than 7 yards, because I think 7 yards is a comfortable distance for a good shooter. He's going to put one round on top of the other. It's going to be a quarter silver dollar size group. For a novice shooter, it's a distance where he's going to hit the A zone so long as he's applying the fundamentals.
Sure.
So 5-second standard says shooter a standby beep from the ready position, 2 shots A zone. Put it in the holster, ready standby beep, 2 shots from the holster, A zone. Put it in the holster, shooter ready standby beep, draw strong hand only, 2 shots A zone. And then once everybody shoots the 7-yard line, then we move back to level 2 or 10-yard line. Do the same thing. Level 3, 15-yard line. Level 4, 20-yard line, that kind of thing. Let's say if you threw anything outside the A zone, you didn't graduate that level. Anything outside the A zone, you didn't graduate. Like public school, however, you will still advance with the group and train with the group. You just did not graduate, but you will still train. And what I do is, on whether we get to level 3 or level 4, my target's clean. I will purposely stronghand, shoot ready, stand by, beep, draw, and boom, shoot one, and then I'll hear beep, and boom, shoot another. And I bring them down to the center of the range, and I say, all right, guys, check it out. How many graduated all 3 levels? And maybe one guy will raise his hand. And they're looking at my target. It's clean. I say, I did not graduate all 3 levels because I went over time on level 3. And then I'll say, but I have another name for this drill. And I call it, I don't want to tape. Yeah. So my point is, it's better to be out as a result of time than it is to have 2 horrible hits. Because the hits have got to be there. Because as a gun handler, as a civilian, and your own, the agent in charge of your own executive protection detail, you've got to be able to fire with impunity. It's got to be there. We're not in the business of indiscriminate fire. That cannot happen. Shot has got to be there. Then I'll also tell the students, I say, all right, this is your first example, beep, of outcome-based training. Execution with consideration of the consequence. Will I succeed or will I fail? We are working on performance-based training, which means all A zone hits. If you make it in time, freaking bonus, man. Enter the world of cognitive dissonance. But it's not what we're working towards. We're working. Yeah. It's going to freaking happen. You're gonna get faster. But if you think outcome, it will sabotage your ability to perform, and the probability of achieving the outcome you desire will increase once you let go of the need to have it. Don't think about the outcome right now. Just think A zone hit, A zone hit, A zone hit. And some people get it faster than others, but when that light switch comes on, holy f, man, the learning, they skyrocket, you know? Mm-hmm. They're like, oh my God, all I have to do is hit well.
Right.
And then they're getting blown away, you know, by, you know, because the next day I'll query the group. I ask shit like, hey, hypothetical, single shot from the holster, 7-yard line, IPSC target. How fast should we be? What's our time? You know, and stuff like that. I'll ask him, and I'll get an array of answers. You know, sure. It'll be from, some guys will say 1 second, some guys will say 2.5, whatever it is. But what I'll do is I put 2.5 seconds on the timer, and I say, all right, we all here, all of us can hit this IPSC target somewhere from the holster, 7-yard line, in 2.5 seconds, because I've seen you all shoot. The question to you is where? Where are you consistent? So on IPSC target, I'll show them the little zone. Let's say you got a credit card, you got a head, you got an A zone, you got a C zone, and you have the entire target. So this drill is impossible to fail. Impossible. Because you, before we shoot this, you're going to shoot it 5 times. You're going to pick your zone. You are. And I call this the Einstein drill because I say, I use a quote from Einstein. I said, one must develop an ability to understand what one could barely accomplish through one's greatest efforts. Mark the boundary of your current ability and then aim a little beyond that. Awesome. So for example, I'll highlight the credit card and the head. I say, now, the boundary of my capability limit is this head. I want to keep him in the A zone or in that credit card.
Yeah.
But I'm not 100% there. So I know the limit. I know my limits. And that's what I'm aiming for. But most of them will fail that. Most of them. You know, because they're aiming too big. They're saying, well, Max going head. I'm going head too, bro. You know, because damn. But it's a hard one for people to wrap their head around because they're still thinking outcome, you know, outcome-based training, outcome.
I got a couple questions on that. So, like some drills, and I completely agree with your training methodology. That's kind of where my head's at. But we know and understand, for example, Dennis Tueler's studies with the Tempe study, right? People call it the 21-foot rule. We understand that a human being can traverse 21 feet in a second and a half, give or take, right?
Yep.
So people use that as a metric to be able to draw and shoot a target. And that's a whole discussion on that. But like we know data like that exists and there's supportive evidence of you know, why a certain skill set should exist. So some drills are designed around that type of
yeah, it cracks me up. The studies and the statistics stuff, it cracks me up, you know? So let's train for that 97% of statistics, not the 3%.
Right.
Let's train for that 97% statistics. All that shit cracks me the fuck up. Like the moving, you know, the closing the gap 21 feet thing. Bro, I'm going to let that guy close the gap and punch his mouth loose. I mean, and I'm not going to stand stationary either. I mean, who the going to do that? Just stand stationary and let somebody close on it. You're either freaking drawing, moving, or you're running your ass off. If you know, whatever it is, you're not gonna. It's a bullshit freaking study. I hate those, man. Or when people train because of statistics, like most gunfights. What's that? Most gunfights happen within what range is it?
Right.
It's something ridiculous, like
right. Yeah. 6 to 4 feet or some bullshit.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, man. And the same guys who say, hey, you want to train there will also say that Oh man, I heard this one, dude, and I don't know who said it, so I'm probably poo-pooing somebody, but I really don't care. It was that when you're training, you don't want to train to put one bullet on top of the other. You want dispersal of fire because it's going to inflict more damage on a human.
I've heard this.
Oh, I get it. You can't shoot. All right. So therefore, you're saying that that's why, you know. Plus, so you're telling me that once again the target's standing still. You know?
Dude's just gonna stand there and be like, "Give me another."
Yeah, give me another in a different place. Wait, you just hit this artery, hit the freaking aorta now. Oh, go to a lung. Oh my God, it's so freaking ridiculous.
That is actually like the, I think the basic reason people come up with that. Just like I've heard other guys though explain that you don't need to be able to draw and shoot very quickly. And with, not like there's some time standard, but like that's bullshit. You don't need to be able to draw and shoot very quickly. And then I watch them shoot and I go, okay, well I see like it takes you 5 seconds to shoot. So that's why you're arriving at that conclusion. I was going to comment on something. So like I've got friends that are national and world level IPSC, USPSA shooters. I've got a handful of guys at our club that are grandmasters at like, you know, top levels. Just had JJ Rakaza in town, and you shoot with dudes like that for, and I know you've trained in USPSA. You used to run the club at the base, right? That you were on?
Yep.
So like there's that methodology, and the goal is accuracy and speed, and don't trip and drop your gun, and you know the world's place. But then you got guys that come from like your background. I'm very fortunate to have a handful of friends that are Green Berets and other special operations groups. And what I've noticed from those dudes is what you were just talking about, all have a very high regard for accuracy. And I helped some dudes from the NRA create a program a couple years ago. You and I talked about this, some concealed carry training, and some of the stuff these guys are doing. I'm like, you guys are like trying to get like little old ladies to make like eyeball shots at 50 yards, you know, with concealed carry pistols. Like, I think it's cool, but it's not probably realistic. But the point I'm trying to make is it's like, I've always kind of erred to that side. I'd rather have to take a little more time and hit what I'm aiming at than just shoot really quick. The argument always is, but you might not have the time.
Yeah.
Like, you know, wasn't that another one?
The thing is though, you could make the time. Number one, train to be fast and smooth. Number two, make the time by, you know, moving, because we're not going to be stationary. You know, so you could always buy time by, you know, a couple of steps lateral move, because now you're not a sitting duck. You're not a stationary target. Yeah. So I have I think that's good stuff. I think any competition shooting is good stuff. But guys have to, you know, do it with an open mind and a filter, because you're not getting like tactical application stuff out of IPSC shooting, but what you're getting is shooting training, number one. Number two is good footwork, right? A lot of good footwork. Number three, you're developing solutions to ambiguous problems. So you got to, you know, think about it. You got to game it, which is good. It's good brain food.
I hate
the other one is you're competing against people you don't know. So the pressure element is awesome. Good. It's good stuff, man. It's really good.
I just started shooting limited from concealment instead of production. I always just shot my carry gun, which I still do. But having to shoot 10 rounds, for those of you that don't know, if you're shooting production in USPSA, you're limited to 10 rounds. Excuse me. And I shoot so much. I think I shot 40-something thousand rounds last year, that it's like in my brain that there's 17 rounds in this gun.
Right.
And then I'm like forcing myself to dump magazines, that it's like, I don't want to do that anymore. So I've switched to shooting limited, where you can have the high cap magazines, which I can't compete against these great limited shooters, because they're shooting tuned 1911s and stuff. But I just don't want to my brain up having to like force myself to dump magazines out of the gun that I normally never would do. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And once again, there's that dividing line. You know, you're going to do stuff in an IPSC match that you're not going to do on a freaking street. Like dump a freaking mag on the ground that's got 3 or 4 rounds in it. You know, but I think if guys do it enough, they can, you know, they could draw that line and make sure that they don't cross it on either side, because you don't want to do tactical shit in an IPSC match, because all these goobers are going to freaking laugh their asses off and say, hey, man, don't do that. Like, don't pie off a corner.
Right. Noner talks about that all the time because he's a big competitive shooter. Yeah. It's definitely for gun handling skills. You go watch like a master class or grandmaster shooter shoot. I tell this to people on Instagram all the time. I'll once in a while post a video of some of my buddies, and it's like, you think your whatever friend that shoots on Instagram can shoot, like, go watch a guy like this shoot. It's a joke.
Yeah.
It's a joke in comparison.
Yeah, man. I mean, you know, guys at that level, at pro level, they're shooting an El Prez in 4 point some seconds.
Yeah.
That's freaking mental, man.
The recent class I was at, these guys were shooting sub-second bill drills from Concealment like over and over again.
Yeah.
I started to see like some sick gun handling skills across the board, because it's like the information's there. I've got a stack of books behind me here. I've got one from like, what's this one? I'm sure you've seen this one many times. You know, build, like back in the day, I remember trying to learn how to shoot a pistol. I had to go, you know, get books like that and find somebody that could show me. And now you can open up Instagram and see 500 dudes showing you thumbs forward grip and how to get good mechanics on the gun. So it's very easy to learn this stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yep, information's out there, and that's a good thing. I mean, I put it out there, you put it out there, because I'd rather have assets than liabilities out there in the gun, you know, with guys who own guns. So yeah, I'll keep putting stuff out, YouTube videos and whatever, because I want guys who own a gun trained up, man.
I agree. Let's talk a little bit about your physical stuff. You know, so I think a lot of people probably are attracted to your content because people like strong dudes.
Right.
You're not 20 anymore, not digging on you, and you're more fit than most 20-year-olds. So, like, what's the motivation there? What I mean, I know the answer, but talk to folks about it.
Well, let me see. I know I'll be long-winded with this one. When I retired from the military, as a ground pounder, when you retired 20 plus years, you're wore the man. You know, there's a lot of mileage on that frame. I mean, I retired with 4 reconstructive surgeries, 13 broken bones.
Whoa.
So just a lot of wear and tear, you know, on that body. I did not want to be one of these disposable heroes, you know, because a lot of guys, when they hit that point, they're broke dick, man.
Mm-hmm.
So I started getting smaller about working out 5, 6, 7 years prior to me retiring, and got my NAS, my National Academy of Sports Medicine certification when I retired.
I didn't know that.
And I started developing this program called Combat Strength Training. The folk, and this is also, once again performance based, because performance based training recognizes that we all perform differently, and performance can be measured by doing what we can with what we have. And I want the ability to train all walks of life. You know, young, thin, old, fat, whatever it is. I want to be able to train all of them. So it gives a guy permission to make incremental improvements, incremental. And when he's seeing incremental improvements, he becomes extremely freaking motivated and driven. And it only takes about 3 weeks of seeing incremental improvements until it becomes habitual. It becomes a way of life. It becomes the guy's new normal.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's fire there, no, not fire. If there's an ember, if there's heat, if a guy wants to, he's saying, man, I really got to do this. All I'm going to do is nurture the flame. I'm going to turn it into a flame. And then it becomes like self-sustaining. He could, put the kindling on it in the wood and keep that fire built. There's 4 reasons why my thought process. 4 reasons why I work out and tell others to work out. First and foremost, self-preservation, longevity, stronger, longer. Motion is lotion. Right? Number 2, the ability to save your own life-saving, pulling yourself up, through, over. Number 3, and more importantly, the ability to save somebody else's life. You never want to relinquish an opportunity to be Batman. Be the best Batman that you can be. Help that guy out of that car, that fire, that ditch. Carry that kid, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And number 4, kicking somebody's. So whenever I work out, I'm thinking of those things. You're not thinking, chiseled freaking pecs and 6-pack. That's byproduct, and it's great. You're gonna look better if you're exercising right. You're gonna look better. But you can't. You have to think. What is my mission focus? And mission focus is that self-preservation, longevity, saving your own life, saving somebody else's life, kicking somebody's ass. With that mission in mind, that mission focus, you become. I think it's easier to become driven. When you go to your garage gym, when you go to your neighborhood gym, whatever it is, you've got an implied task. Mm-hmm. Instead of just saying, well, work back and buys today. What the is that, man? There's 3 types of people who work in concentration, who do like back and buy day or whatever the it's called. Number 1, you're a professional bodybuilder. That's your job, bro. That's your job. That's your sport. You're a pro. You got to chisel that stuff. You got to put peaks and valleys in certain places. The second person who does it, works in isolation, it's physical therapy. You're recovering from surgery. You got to work in isolation. The third person who does it has no idea what he's doing. Because there's medical proof that says working in isolation does more harm than good. Yeah. The other thing that I pride myself on, and it's one of the best compliments, is when I go to my gym, guys say, bro, I never see you do the same thing twice. Which I do the same thing twice, but I have a lot of curriculum. I have a lot. Yeah. It's like building a meal, and these are the ingredients, kind of thing. Because you never want to get into a rut of complacent adaptation. Yeah. And too many of us are guilty of that.
I've destroyed joints doing like pull-ups like crazy.
Right. The same thing over and over, and pull-ups are necessary, they're absolutely necessary. But that's it's a once a week thing. Yeah. Pull-up. You're doing them well. You're doing a lot of them. And if you can't do a pull-up, use a pull-up assist band, because that's life-saving. The ability to pull your own weight up or somebody else. So we don't want to get into a rut of complacent adaptation. Right? Another facet of the combat strength training is break the work week down into 4 or 5 days. Power day, strength day, speed and quickness, hypertrophy, skills, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And if you don't have 5 days, then you could lump a couple. Like, for instance, power and speed can be lumped because there's some crossover. Strength and hypertrophy can be lumped because there's some crossover. And I explain this shit. I have a CST book, Combat Strength Training book. So I explain it in there.
And you run a program. People can sign up and attend the course, right?
Yeah, I don't do that much anymore because there's not a lot of takers on it, because I think that they think it's going to be a beatdown. when in fact it's information. It's a class of information. It's a lot of demonstration. It's a lot of feel this through. It's a lot of recognize your voice. You know, it's that. The other,
I want to fly down and do it and do a video on it and critique it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I love it. Well, I mean, you would love it because you work on a lot of the same similar stuff where you understand the importance of proprioception, kinesthetic awareness, and, you know, the balance and transverse plane of motion. So, you know, for a guy like you, it's up your alley. Speaking of that transverse plane of motion, you know, most guys, when they work out, they're stuck in what I call a sagittalistic world. It's a made-up word, but I think it's fun. So 3 planes of motion: sagittal, frontal, and transverse. Most guys work out in sagittal. You know, that's your bench press and your squats and all that stuff. And then, once again, enter the world of complacent adaptation. You're not getting better. And if you're not getting better, you're getting worse. You are going to run into muscular imbalances. You're going to run into injury, you know, that kind of thing.
Because we're using our body in a manner it wasn't designed to work.
Right. We're load-bearing creatures, man. We're not designed for that. The plane of motion that's most neglected is the most important plane of motion. That's transverse. In the transverse, or rotational plane of motion, that's where life-saving and ass-kicking takes place. It's also where self-preservation takes place. You know, good strong lower back and core and all that. That is definitely the most neglected. Not for me in my program. We work transverse every day, whether it's power or strength or speed.
You're talking about things like chopping a tree down.
Exactly. Yeah. Swinging a baseball bat, swinging a golf club, swinging a left hook, throwing a kick, pulling somebody out of a car, pulling somebody through a window, picking your kid up off the ground and bringing them up here and running with them. That's all transverse shit, you know, and that's when we work out, it's where it's most neglected. Then the other thing that's neglected is concentration on the planes of motion, eccentric, concentric, isometric. You know, we don't, a lot of times it's too herky-jerky. And there's no consideration in, you know, either triphasic, where, you know, fast concentric, hold isometric, slow eccentric, that kind of thing. Or like during hypertrophy, equal portions, slow concentric, hold isometric, slow eccentric. And then we neglect distal finger. A lot of guys will work grip, but not distal finger. Another thing that guys neglect is working the neck. Neck supports the command center. We've got to freaking exercise the neck. So it's a program that if I'm not offering affirmation, I don't know who the is, because man, next week I'll be 54 and I feel good, bro. I feel really freaking good. Everything's put together well. I could feel, I don't have pain in my joints, my ankles, my lower back. Unless I stop working out, then I'm a soup sandwich, man, because motion is lotion, you know?
I've got a neighbor that's almost 90.
Yep.
Guy was in World War II. He walks every day, 3 or 4 miles. He's got a little tiny, like, toy dog. And half the time on the walk, he has to pick the little dog up. And he doesn't walk like in little shuffles. He walks like a young man with purpose. You know, his back's upright. He's a master gardener all summer. He's out. He's climbing up trees, chopping shit. And
awesome.
other neighbors will tell him, you know, get the hell out of that tree. And he'll look at him like, am I going to fall and die? You know, I'm 90. Shut up.
Right, right.
Constantly moving, and people, like, I've listened to neighbors tell him, like, you shouldn't be doing this. And he'll talk to me. He comes over for tea. He'll go, I don't understand these people. He doesn't speak like in my vernacular, but he goes, I don't understand it. Like, I'm like, just sit home and just rot away on the couch.
Yeah, right.
Same thing. You're not 90, but you're a pretty thick guy. What are you, like 6 foot, 210-ish, 215?
Yeah, right around 5'11". I never made it to 6 foot. And 210, yeah. So yep, you pegged it.
So you you're thick dude. You've got about 10 or 15 pounds on me, and you're not laying on a bench throwing up plates
Hell no.
right. So you're able to pack on muscle and maintain muscle, doing a lot of body weight stuff. You use resistance bands. You're flipping tires over.
Yep. I pride myself on being very innovative when it comes to, the workout of the day. I've got a lot of curriculum, and a lot of it's low tech. I don't have a lot of machines in my gym and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. It's very Spartan, but I could do 100 things with.
What's the name of that gym?
Spartech.
Okay.
Yep. But it's a very Spartan gym, and I could do 100 things with one resistance band.
When you show up in the morning, like even if it's just your own workout session, do you write all the stuff down, or do you just kind of go along in your head?
I usually figure it out on a drive.
Okay.
To the gym. It's a 15-minute drive. I crank up the metal and figure it out. And I know the day. I know what the day is. Like today is strength day. So I'm already focused on strength. Strength. Power is how fast, rate of force production. Strength is how much. So I'm already prepping the brain for how much.
What kind of stuff will you do today in class then to build?
Well, strength is a good day to do, the traditional stuff, like a squat or a bench press. I don't do bench press, but every once in a while, strength day, I'll do some bench press. Pull up, overhead press, deadlift. Those are good strength. Those should never be done fast like they do them in CrossFit. Those are strength exercises. Those are equal portions, eccentric, concentric, isometric.
I like the good old-fashioned Olympic lifts.
Yeah, they're good. You got to have coaching on, and you got to do them correctly because guys will get jacked up with those. Now, what I do though is a variation of those things. For instance, deadlift. I might do a shovel deadlift where you only load one end of the barbell. So the other end is free. Or I might do a suitcase deadlift where you got a 100-pound dumbbell on your right side. You go down, you deadlift that, pick it up, and you set it on your left side.
Okay. So you're having to traverse the front of your body, working the hell out of your core.
And then instead of a back squat, I really don't do back squats anymore. I do nothing but front squats.
Okay.
A couple different reasons. One is safer. Safer. You tend to have a much more neutral back with a front squat. The other reason is real world application. We're going to load on our front, not our back.
Right.
More than likely. And it's harder. Front squat's harder. It's more calorically challenging. It closes down your ability to breathe well because you got all the weight in the front. What else might we do today? We might do I'll do equal amounts pulls, pushes, uppers and lowers, and then transverse as well. So I haven't developed today's workout yet because I have to recall what I had them do last week for strength because I'm training people too. So I want them. What I'm doing with these people is I'm teaching them how to cook. In a nutshell. So I'm giving them, here's the ingredients. The theme of the day is Tuesday is your pasta fish day. Here's all the ingredients. All these ingredients you could use for pasta fish day. So I'm teaching them how to cook a meal, a pasta and fish meal on Tuesday. And then tomorrow, your speed and quickness day, we could say, hey, today is, meat and veg. I'm going to teach you how to cook with meat and veg. So I need to, for not only for them, but for me too, because it keeps this sharp, keep coming up with new ideas, new stuff, new movements. So I might do something today that I've never done before. I started, oh, you may have seen it. Oh man, I did one last week. Holy cow. I went on the way to the gym and bought a dowel, 4-foot long dowel. I put 2 eye bolts, big eye bolts in each end, and the medium rubber bands on each end, and it secured them on far ends. So now you got the suspended dowel, suspended by 2 rubber bands. And then slowly rotate that thing, pulling one end and pushing the other. Holy crap. And then I started doing it overhead. I know your guys might not be able to see this, but you could see it.
Yeah.
And the next day, as much as I change shit up, every once in a while, I'll do a movement and I'll go, oh my God, my this hurts. So I want to be innovative and keep changing things up, because I want my combat chassis to work like it's working for as long as possible.
Yeah.
I mean, guys will see me with no shirt on, they'll go, holy man, what do you do, bro? And I'm just following a good routine, and then my diet's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing with diet, people always ask diet, hey, Mac, what supplements do you take? What's the secret sauce? One is I've been exercising for a long time, so my body's used to it. It's used to hard work. 2 is my diet's boring as hell. It's super boring. Every morning it's bacon and eggs, traditional. No, we don't have bread in the house or crackers or anything like that.
Yeah.
And then I eat chicken and freaking collard greens.
Delicious.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I usually eat. I mean, it's boring, and but the thing is, it's fuel source. It's just fuel. There's a couple other things that I'll stick into my pie hole, but the thing is, we can't be a human garbage can.
Yeah.
Another good diet secret is, as soon as you get up in the morning, you take your first pee, while you're brewing your first cup of coffee, just power slam a full quart of water.
That's what I do that every morning, man. Yeah, maybe not a full quart, but I might have a nice tall glass.
Yep, I got a full Nalgene bottle every morning, super hydrated, because you wake up dehydrated.
Yeah, just run that stuff through you.
Yep, so just power slam that full quart of water. Now, back to your original question, because I remember this. What motivates you? All right, so what motivates me is knowing that at noon, I got 5 people waiting for me.
Yeah.
Not only that, but if the workout is unique, I'm going to post snippets of it on my channels, because I have a massive following waiting for that stuff.
Yeah.
And they say, thank you so much for that. That's what I needed today to change up my workout, humma. So I have this, I should be thanking them. These guys who are thanking me, I need to be thanking them, because I'm doing it for them because they're doing it for me. So there's a give and take there. What motivates a motivator? Tell them that you motivate them. I got that line from CJ.
I was going to say, that sounds like a CJ saying.
But it's so true. I mean, if I weren't firing people up and knew that I was firing people up, I wouldn't be as fired up. There's no way. Yeah. I mean, I get tired. I'm 54, man. There's a lot of mileage on the body. So I get tired, but I get energized every day. So in, half an hour from now or so, I'll make my protein shake. But that's the only supplement I'll do, like, is a protein shake. Hard workout days, I'll do it.
Protein, or is it some bullshit with like chocolate and mocha crap?
Just as clean as I could find it, just read the ingredients on it, and just freaking, because I eat that sometime during the workout.
Mm-hmm.
I'll sip on that, like on strength today and on hypertrophy day.
Do you ever, when you're at the range, you watch the students? Excuse me. I'm only using the range because it's about the only time I'm with a broad swath of people and get to like see them in their element. And you watch the shit they're pulling out of their coolers and just think like, I see why you're a fat.
Yeah, human garbage can. Yeah.
Yeah, just chugging 2 liters of Mountain Dew and.
Yep. Yeah, I see it, and but then again, they see what I'm eating, at the range, and I got a big old chunk of chicken, and I got a little veggie tray.
Yeah.
So I'm snacking on broccoli and carrots, and eating some good, just clean protein. Yeah, it's boring, but I mean, I'll around every once in a while, cheat. We go out and eat this or that, but I don't have crap at home. Here's diet's simple with a lot of guys when they go shopping. Number one, if you have kids at home, it's harder because you got crap in the house. Because kids could process crap. You got cereals and cookies and all this bullshit.
Fed our kids any of that shit.
Well, a lot of people, kid food is kid food, and it could be even pastas and breads and stuff like that. As we get older, we can't process that stuff. All those sugars, we can't process it, and we're going to get fat from it.
Yeah.
When you shop in a grocery store, if you stay at the periphery of a grocery store, you're going to eat pretty freaking clean.
I don't think clean food's boring.
What's that?
I don't think clean food is boring.
No, I explain it to that only because, people think I don't think so either. I enjoy my meal prep time. But if I explain it as boring, people will understand, I got it. So there's not a lot of flash and fanciness. I mean, I put a lot of like bell pepper and sweet peppers in my in that as well with the collards. So I try to church it up, but yeah, stay at the periphery of the grocery store. You go into the guts for, like olive oil and salt and pepper and coffee, those kind of things. There's nothing in the guts that you need. Toilet paper, but food product, there's nothing in there that you need. All that is product in the inside. It comes in a bag or a box. If it comes in a bag or a box, it's not food, it's a product.
Yeah.
So diet is pretty freaking easy, man. And then I'll eat here, prior to going to the gym, I'll eat like a second breakfast. Just like a yogurt and that other piece of bacon that's sitting in my kitchen right now.
Nice.
Yeah, but that's about it, and
there's a great book about Colonel Boyd.
Yep.
It's called Boyd. Awesome. It's like probably the best book I've read on him. And in the book, they did a really good job of describing what a lunatic he was. This guy became a engineer while being a military officer, became a mathematician, did all of these things like designed calculations for new wings and new engines, and while being an officer. And he's in the Pentagon one day, and he's shoveling food in his mouth in the cafeteria, and some underling that worked for him said, "Sir, don't you want to taste your food?" And he's got a cigar going in one hand and a fork in the other, and he looks at the underling and just looks at him and said, "It's fuel." And just like you said, like, why would I mean, I like to taste my food, but he didn't have time for that. He's like, I need to get it in me so I can get back to whatever the I'm doing and pile up this, throw like steaks and lettuce and just pile up his plate into a mound of food, shovel it in, and then like walk back out into the hallway and do his thing.
Yeah, no, I'm all about that. That's pretty much how I eat. Just with that meal prep, you just scoop this food source, this fuel source, and throw it into a bowl and heat it up, and boom. But I don't break down like number of meals a day. I eat when I'm hungry, man. And the other thing is, I don't eat till I'm full. I don't gorge. I don't know, just me personally. It's
pretty hard to like overeat on like vegetables and meat. Like last night, we grilled a bunch of zucchini, squash, and bell peppers, and made some turkey. I can't even if I ate a whole plate full of those vegetables, it's not going to do anything negative to me.
Right.
Which I'm with you. Now you sit down and start pounding through half a container of ice cream. That's another story.
Oh, hell.
Which I don't do. Well, hey, man, I know you've got a class that you got to prep for. I appreciate you taking the time to talk. I kind of wanted to give people that we've got a pretty broad audience here, and I wanted to give them some insight into who you are. Folks see your videos and stuff, and I think a lot of people don't take the time to actually look at like the man behind the man in certain situations.
Right.
Who is freaking loudmouth with a waxed beard?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, man. No, I appreciate you having me on. We chatted quite a bit here. I covered a lot of ground in that little chunk of time. And I always love doing it. I always love, talking my 2 cents. And it's just that, too. It's somebody's 2 cents. You can't take any of the shit that you hear on these podcasts. I'm still going to say podcast.
Extravaganza.
Yeah.
I haven't come up with a better word yet.
Yeah. But, because none of us are smarter than any of us. And there's a lot of good information out there.
One thing I will add to that, though, is I judge men by the fruit of their life. And if there's some loudmouth spouting on and I find out that he's beating his old lady and he's got a drinking problem and he's got a bankruptcy looming, I might start to question the validity of his words. But when the person's actions, like, for example, I've heard some guys bust your balls before, like in the training circles. Now you just got squinty because man, he ain't been in the service in a long time, or it's about all kinds of guys. And it's like, well, wait a minute. Like, do the holes in the paper lie? Is the training invalid because, and it's a lot of times there's so much ego involved in that. So then I hear that and I think that causes me to judge that person because their actions, the fruit of their life, tells me something about them.
Yeah. And I don't mind that. I always consider that stuff a compliment when you get like ridiculed and you know that you're doing good. The reason you're getting ridiculed is because you're at the top of the heap, man. You're at the top of the heap. Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, that's how I see it. I'm real careful about not talking anything negative about anybody that I know in the industry. It's just, I don't know. It's not freaking worth it, man. That visceral, shrill bullshit. It's not.
It's sophomoric and childish at best. And that's kind of the point I'm making. It tells you about the measure of that man.
Absolutely.
So when you say, and I know you're kind of being humble about it, like, hey, I'm just a dude sharing my 2 cents. I think there's a ton of 50-year-old dudes that would like to have the body that you have. You got a young wife, you're working hard, you got a national following, you did years in special operations. So there's a lot there to pass on, man. There you can't overlook the amount of life experience, and you got a good rap the way you pass it on.
Right on. I'm gonna keep doing it, bro.
I want to talk to you offline. I'll jump a plane, come down there when you have a couple days that you're going to be at the gym, and I'd like to do that for myself. But I do a review on that to talk about it.
Yeah. Send me some dates sometime. I'm looking at my calendar right now. March is a wash. April's a wash.
Yeah.
May is pretty good. June is pretty good. July is pretty good. Where I am, I've got a lot of time during the week.
Yeah, that would be ideal. I don't like giving up weekends.
Even next month, I've got some, late the last 2 weeks of next month during the week, I am here. Yep.
I'm going to look today and I'll shoot you a message offline.
Yeah, good.
How do people find you?
Well, my business website, TMACS Inc., TMACS Inc. And then most everything you can find off of there. I got like my YouTube channel, Pat Mac YouTube channel. A lot of good free information there. I got my Instagram, which is TMACS Inc. Instagram. And I got combatstrengthtraining.com. Those are the big ones.
And if somebody wanted to host a class, a police agency or a range wanted to host a class, they can email you through the website to talk about that?
Yep, absolutely. And it all starts with getting a spot in the calendar. Right now I'm building 2020. I got no wiggle room in 2019.
Good. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time, man. If you guys listening, if you haven't started following Pat, I would. it's I always like I just talked about the measure of a man. I try to surround myself and align myself with people that do good things. If you're sitting at the bar talking with your friends about stupid shit that doesn't mean a hill of beans, that's probably what your life will amount to. So I'd go sort out some guys like this as mentors or friends or at least somebody to pay attention to, and you'll start to see some shit happen in your life that might be a little more fruitful than holding down a bar stool.
Rock and roll.
I appreciate it, man.
Hell yeah, man. Thanks a lot. And hi to all of you guys out there watching us.
And happy birthday this week, big guy.
Ooh, thank you, bro.
Be well.
Yep, thanks. See you, bye.
Visit our website, CarryTrainer.com, for information about classes held throughout the U.S., CarryTrainer apparel, and upcoming projects. You can also email us at training@CarryTrainer.com for information about setting up your own private course or speaking engagement. Training@CarryTrainer.com or CarryTrainer.com.